Chosen one, listen carefully. If you are watching this right now, it is not random. It is not an accident. And it is not because the algorithm favored you. It is because something inside you has been stirring. You have been waking up at strange hours. 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Your body is tired, yet your spirit refuses to sleep. You feel exhausted in a way rest cannot fix. Not physical exhaustion, soul exhaustion. You lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling a weight you cannot fully explain. Thoughts come, memories return, questions surface that you buried long ago. Why me? Why now? Why does it feel like everything is quiet, yet tense? Beloved, this is not anxiety. This is not coincidence. This is not your mind betraying you. This is the moment before elevation. The scriptures whisper about this season, even if you were never taught how to hear it. Isaiah spoke of it when he said that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. But what they did not always explain is this: waiting does not feel peaceful at first. Waiting feels like pressure, like stretching, like being pulled between who you were and who you are becoming. You are feeling that pull now. You may feel alone in a room full of people. You may feel misunderstood, even by those who once felt close. Conversations feel shallow. Noise feels irritating. Your spirit craves depth, truth, stillness. Chosen one, this is not because you are broken. It is because you are being recalibrated. Before an eagle soars, it is forced into solitude. Before a seed breaks the soil, it must first crack in the dark. Before light bursts forth, there is always a pause, a breath, a stillness that feels unbearable. That is where you are. And God says to you now, this is not the end. This is the positioning. You have been wondering why doors closed without explanation, why relationships faded without conflict, why opportunities disappeared just when you thought they were secure. Hear this clearly. Nothing was taken from you. It was removed, not as punishment, but as protection. There are environments your next version cannot survive in. There are people who would drain what God is trying to grow in you. There are places where your light would be diluted instead of revealed. So separation came first. It had to. The wilderness always precedes the calling. Moses was alone on the mountain. David was hidden in the fields. Jesus was led into the wilderness before he stepped into power. Isolation is not rejection. It is preparation. You have felt the attacks intensify lately. Not physical attacks, spiritual ones. Doubt whispering when you try to rest. Old fears resurfacing without warning. A sudden heaviness when you decide to move forward. These are not signs you are failing. These are signs you are close. Darkness never fights what has no value. The pressure you feel is resistance against what you carry. Chosen one, there is a weight on your life because there is oil on your life. There is friction because there is purpose. There is opposition because there is assignment. You were not meant to blend in. You were not meant to be easily understood. You were not meant to follow the same timeline as everyone else. Your delay was not denial. It was alignment. You may have questioned God in silence. You may have asked, how much longer? You may have wondered if you missed your moment. God answers you now, gently but firmly. You did not miss it. You were being refined. Gold is not rushed out of the fire. If removed too soon, it fractures. If left too long, it melts. You were held for the exact amount of time required. And now, something is shifting. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it fully yet. But the atmosphere around your life is changing. The heaviness is lifting in waves. Clarity comes in flashes. Peace arrives unexpectedly, then leaves, then returns stronger. That is divine movement. The old season is loosening its grip. The old identity is shedding. The old limitations are cracking. You are standing at the edge of a threshold, and God says, do not look back. Do not shrink. Do not doubt what I am about to do, because what is coming will require you to rise. Not slowly, not timidly, but deliberately. You are not preserved this long to stay hidden forever. You are not protected through storms to remain grounded. You are not refined in silence to speak with fear. This was the pause before acceleration. The waiting is ending. The recalibration is completing. The calling is activating. Take a breath, chosen one. Steady your spirit, because this message is only the beginning. Chosen one, draw closer. What you have been walking through was never random, and it was never meant to destroy you. It was a wilderness season, and the wilderness has a purpose. I need you to understand this clearly, because many lose heart here, not because they are weak, but because they misinterpret the season. The wilderness is not abandonment. It is divine isolation. In the wilderness, distractions fall away. Masks come off. False attachments loosen their grip. This is why it felt so uncomfortable. You were stripped of what once defined you. Titles, roles, relationships, even certain dreams you once clung to. At times, it felt like everything familiar was taken, leaving only silence. But silence is where God speaks the clearest. Psalm 46 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is alignment. While you felt like nothing was happening, everything was happening beneath the surface. Your discernment sharpened. Your tolerance for falsehood diminished. Your spirit became sensitive to energy, intention, and truth. That is why certain people suddenly felt heavy. Certain conversations felt draining. Certain environments felt unbearable. You did not become judgmental. You became aware, and awareness is dangerous to darkness. This is also why the loneliness cut deeper than before. You were not lonely because no one loved you. You were lonely because your soul had outgrown its surroundings. Elevation always creates distance. An eagle cannot fly with sparrows. Not because the sparrows are evil, but because their altitude is different. God was separating you not from people, but from patterns. Patterns of overgiving. Patterns of shrinking yourself to keep peace. Patterns of explaining your worth to those who could never see it. The wilderness breaks cycles, and yes, it hurt. You questioned yourself. You replayed conversations. You wondered if you were too much or not enough. Beloved, hear this with clarity. The pain you felt was not rejection. It was detox. Your spirit was purging attachments that could not go where you were going. This is why the attacks intensified right when you decided to change. Right when you said, "I can't live like this anymore." Right when you chose truth over comfort. Darkness does not fight those who remain asleep. It fights awakeners. It fights carriers of light. It fights those whose rise would disrupt systems, expose illusions, and free others. You are not under attack because you are failing. You are under pressure because you are valuable. Think of this. Before David faced Goliath, he was isolated from his brothers. Before Joseph ruled, he was betrayed, forgotten, and confined. Before Jesus stepped into authority, he fasted alone while being tempted. The wilderness is where identity is forged. Out there, titles mean nothing. Approval means nothing. Only truth survives. That is why God allowed you to be misunderstood. Because if you still needed validation, power would corrupt you. If you still needed applause, authority would crush you. If you still needed external confirmation, influence would derail you. So God removed the noise, not to punish you, but to protect the calling. And something else happened in that silence. You learned to hear your inner knowing, that quiet voice that says, this isn't right, or this is aligned, without explanation. That is spiritual maturity. You stopped reacting emotionally and started observing energetically. You noticed patterns others ignored. You sensed intentions before words were spoken. You felt shifts before events occurred. This is not imagination. This is discernment awakening. Isaiah spoke of this when he said your ears would hear a word behind you saying, this is the way. Walk in it. That voice grew clearer in isolation, because nothing else competed with it. Chosen one, I need to say this gently. You had to be alone so you would stop abandoning yourself. Some of your deepest wounds came from staying where you were tolerated but not valued, from loving people who could not love you back in truth, from pouring into spaces that never poured into you. God did not remove them to hurt you. He removed them to heal you. And now, the healing has reached a critical point. You are no longer asking, why did this happen to me? You are beginning to ask, what is this preparing me for? That question marks the shift, because victims ask why. Chosen ones ask what now. The fear that once controlled you is losing its grip. The anxiety that once dominated your thoughts is softening. Not gone yet, but weaker. This is important. Healing is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to obey it. You are standing up internally, even if your external life hasn't caught up yet. And that is why God says to you, do not return to what I freed you from. The temptation to go back will come. Old doors may reopen. Old people may resurface. Old habits may whisper comfort. But comfort is not calling. The wilderness taught you resilience. The silence taught you wisdom. The pain taught you discernment. Now comes the revelation. Now comes the understanding of why you may. Now comes the unveiling of what has been hidden inside you all along. In the next part, I will speak to you about the revelation, why you were protected, why the attacks targeted you specifically, and what God placed inside you that the darkness recognized before you did. Chosen one, listen with your spirit now. There is a reason the pressure followed you. There is a reason resistance met you at every turning point. There is a reason confusion tried to cloud your clarity right when you were close to peace. It is because you carry something that cannot be replicated. You are not just going through hardship. You are being guarded. Many people think protection looks like ease, but divine protection often looks like delay, detours, and denied access. Because if God had allowed you to arrive too early, you would have been exposed without armor. If He had opened certain doors too soon, you would have been consumed by environments not designed for your frequency. So He hid you. Psalm 91 speaks of this, being hidden under the shadow of the Almighty. Hidden does not mean forgotten. Hidden means preserved. The enemy noticed something about you long before you did. Darkness has vision. It senses light. That is why attacks began early in your life. That is why misunderstanding followed you even when your intentions were pure. That is why you felt different as a child, even if you could not explain it. You were marked not for suffering, but for assignment. And when something is marked by God, it is immediately contested. The battles you faced were not proportionate to your actions. They were proportionate to your potential. You wondered why small decisions triggered massive reactions, why your growth made others uncomfortable, why your silence unsettled people more than your words ever did. It is because your presence carries truth, and truth disrupts illusions. Chosen one, you are not here to fit into broken systems. You are here to expose them gently, by example, simply by being who you are. This is why narcissistic spirits were drawn to you, not because you are weak, but because you are empathetic, perceptive, and luminous. Light attracts shadows that want to feed without transforming. But God did not allow them to consume you. He allowed you to see. And once you saw, the protection increased. Doors closed suddenly. Distance appeared unexpectedly. Silence fell where noise once lived. This was not loss. This was God saying, enough. Because what is inside you is meant to be shared, but only in environments that can honor it. You carry a frequency that awakens others, not through force, not through argument, but through resonance. When you walk into a room, something shifts. People feel exposed, comforted, inspired, or irritated, often without knowing why. That is spiritual authority, not dominance. Presence. Isaiah described it as a light that nations are drawn to, not because it shouts, but because it shines. This is also why God had to heal you deeply before releasing you publicly. Unhealed power becomes destructive. Unhealed light becomes blinding. So he took you through layers of refinement. He allowed your heart to break so it would open wider. He allowed disappointment so discernment could grow. He allowed waiting so humility could anchor you. And now, something has changed. You no longer crave validation the way you once did. You no longer chase what drains you. You no longer fear being alone the way you used to. This means you are ready. Ready to rise without arrogance. Ready to serve without depletion. Ready to lead without domination. The attacks are slowing because their assignment is ending. The confusion is clearing because clarity is being released. The heaviness is lifting because the season is turning. This is the revelation. You were not protected to stay hidden. You were protected to emerge intact. And now God says, lift your head, straighten your back, strengthen your heart, because the same hand that shielded you is now pushing you forward. The enemy can no longer delay what God has authorized. The seed has cracked. The root has grown deep. The shoot is breaking through the surface. In the next part, I will speak to you about the shift, the acceleration you are beginning to feel, the divine speed replacing years of delay, and how to position yourself so you do not resist what God is about to do rapidly. Chosen one, steady yourself. What you are feeling now is not imagination. It is not wishful thinking. It is not emotional fluctuation. It is movement. For a long time, your life felt delayed. You did everything right, yet progress felt slow. You prayed, you waited, you endured, and still nothing seemed to change on the surface. But heaven was never idle. There are seasons when God works around you, and there are seasons when God works within you. You were in the second. Now, the work is shifting outward. Scripture speaks of this moment, though it is rarely taught plainly. In Amos it says, God can compress time that the plowman overtakes the reaper. That means harvest catching up to planting. It means years of sowing converging into moments of reaping. This is what divine speed looks like. Not chaos, not rushing, but alignment meeting momentum. That is why things may feel sudden now. Insights arrive quickly. Decisions feel clearer. Old fears lose authority almost overnight. Opportunities appear where there were none. You may feel slightly disoriented, not in a painful way, but in a humbling way, like standing up after sitting too long, like adjusting to light after darkness. This is normal. When a shift begins, The nervous system must recalibrate. The soul must learn a new rhythm. Do not resist this. Resistance slows what God is accelerating. Instead, stay present. The reason God delayed you was not to deny you. It was to prepare you to move fast without breaking. Some people receive speed before stability and collapse under it. But you were anchored first. You learned patience. You learned obedience without applause. You learned discipline in obscurity. Now, speed can trust you. Chosen one, this is critical to understand. Acceleration does not mean everything changes overnight. It means what should have taken years will no longer require years. Conversations will happen faster. Decisions will finalize quicker. Doors will open with less resistance, but only if you stay aligned. Alignment is your responsibility now. You must guard your energy more intentionally than ever. What you tolerated in survival mode will drain you in expansion mode. Not everyone who knew you in the wilderness is meant to walk with you into visibility. This is not arrogance. This is stewardship. God is increasing your influence even if you do not yet see it publicly. Influence always begins energetically before it manifests physically. People will begin to sense your certainty. Your words will carry more weight. Your presence will feel grounded. This is why humility must remain central. The moment ego tries to take credit, speed will stall. Remember, you are not rising for yourself. You are rising through obedience. The shift also requires courage. You will be asked to move before you feel fully ready. To speak before everything is perfect. To step forward while faith is still trembling. This is intentional. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is obedience in the presence of fear. Isaiah said, "Enlarge the place of your tent." That means prepare for what has not yet arrived. Make space internally. Release old narratives. Release self-doubt disguised as humility. Release the identity that learned to survive instead of thrive. You are no longer bracing for impact. You are positioning for overflow. An overflow requires structure. This is why God is refining your habits now. Your thoughts, your reactions, your boundaries. Small adjustments will yield large outcomes in this season. Pay attention to what brings peace, that is alignment. Pay attention to what drains you, that is misalignment. You will not need to force anything. What is divine will flow. What is not will fall away quickly. And do not be alarmed if old tests resurface briefly. Not to trap you, but to confirm you are no longer the same person. When you respond differently, the lesson closes permanently. Chosen one, hear this declaration. The season of waiting is over. The season of preparation is complete. The season of rising has begun. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time. In the final part, I will lead you into the prayer, a prayer of activation, protection, clarity, and courage, so you can step fully into what God has already authorized for your life. Chosen one, take a slow breath. Wherever you are right now, let your shoulders relax. Let your jaw soften. Let your spirit come to attention, not in fear, but in reverence. This is not a ritual. This is alignment. If you are able, place one hand over your heart, not as a command, as an invitation, because what follows is a prayer spoken with you, not over you. Beloved God, source of all light and truth, we come before you in humility and trust. You see this chosen one completely. You saw them in the wilderness when no one else noticed. You heard their silent prayers when words failed them. You counted every tear, every delay, every unanswered question, and you did not forget. Father, We acknowledge that the trial they endured was not punishment. It was preparation. The waiting was not rejection. It was refinement. Thank you for preserving their spirit when circumstances tried to crush it. Thank you for guarding their heart when deception tried to attach. Thank you for removing what could not go forward, even when it hurt. Now, in this moment, we agree with heaven. We release the old season. We release fear that no longer serves. We release self-doubt that was formed in survival. We release the lie that says they are behind or unworthy. That chapter is closed. God, activate what you placed inside them. Awaken clarity where there was confusion. Restore strength where there was exhaustion. Replace heaviness with peace that surpasses understanding. As Isaiah declared, let them rise on wings like eagles, not scrambling, not striving, but soaring carried by your breath. We ask for discernment in this new season, eyes to see what is aligned, ears to hear what is true, a heart that remains humble even as influence increases. Guard them from pride. Guard them from fear. Guard them from returning to what you freed them from. Surround them with divine protection, not walls of isolation, but boundaries of wisdom. Let every step forward be ordered. Let every decision be anchored in peace. Let every opportunity arrive in divine timing. Where there was delay, release momentum. Where there was stagnation, release movement. Where there was silence, release confirmation, not rushed, not forced, but authorized. And for the moments ahead when courage is required, remind them they are not alone. They are not unsupported. They are not unprepared. You go before them. You walk beside them. You strengthen them from within. We seal this prayer not with fear, but with faith, not with urgency, but with trust, because you have spoken, and what you have spoken cannot be reversed. Chosen one, receive this. Do not analyze it. Do not question it. Simply allow it to settle. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to announce anything. Your life will speak. The rising has already begun. Remain steady. Remain aligned. Remain open. And when the next step reveals itself, take it in peace.